So I wanted to create a diorama of a galactic expanding empire whose rule conquered through fear and intimidation. But I couldn't quite find the right minis for that, so I just went with something they purchased instead. The all-terrain armored transport, better known as AT-AT, and yes, that's how it's pronounced, I don't care if Mark Hamill pronounces it AT-AT. If you can capture one out in the wild, they're usually pretty healthy. They require deworming and some shots, but overall they are fine and ready to go. However, as you can tell, this little fellow was bred in captivity and requires a little bit of assembly first. First, you want to start off by putting this little tyke's head together, so he can use his nose and his eyes to smell and see the world around him. After that, you want to get his body assembled, because if he doesn't have a body, you can't give this good little boy the tummy rubs and pets that he deserves. And as we all learn in biology, the spring bone in the neck connects directly to the AT-AT's shoulder blades. And now we assemble the AT-AT's massive cannon. Or not, I guess. I don't know what I'm doing. However, I do know that these are the AT-AT's paws. Paws because feet are elongated. Paws are round or oval shaped. However, they don't have soft pads on the bottom, but you could say the toes are claws, so I guess it's perhaps neither a foot nor a paw. So, long story short, I still have no clue what I'm doing or talking about. Now that we have one leg done, we just have to do the same thing to the remaining 3. Ah, thank you very much, editor. I went ahead and put the snow speeders and the cannons together off camera, meaning I forgot to record it. So let's go ahead and move on to the base. I start off by making a texture base out of plaster, sculpt mold, PVA glue, and water. I put some parchment paper down because it's always good to have a clean working environment. I start off by editing the sculpt mold and, well, see, of course I made a big mess. So I was correct about the parchment paper being pretty useful. Now it may seem I'm just adding stuff in at random, but, well, it's because I actually am. This is actually the first time I ever used sculpt mold. But it looks great, or not, I have no clue. Now we add the texture paste, all over the base to where we want it to be textured at. Here I dig out a little trench and I use popsicle sticks for the sides. Well, because that's what they had in the movie. A trench, not popsicle sticks. And nothing says galactic expanding space battles like some good old-fashioned trench warfare, am I right? The set actually came with 2 snow speeders, so I thought it'd be interesting to put one on the ground to make it look like it had crashed or been shot down. And I thought it would give the illusion of it skidding across the ground if I removed some of the paste from the back and piled it up in the front. I added a few pieces of cork here and there to act as rocks, because as we all know, it more matches the AT-AT's natural environment that way. And we really want that guy to feel right at home when he gets put on here. I go ahead and squish the 3 turrets in place so that later when the plaster dries, they're easier to attach. I made and then added some cables out of green stuff, because nothing really says futuristic like big green cables. I still thought it was looking kind of bland, so I added some pieces of sprue that I'd cut out just to kind of fill it out a little bit. And after about a day of drying, the texture base is hardened and ready to be primed. And I prime it white because, well, it's going to be snow and I thought to make it easier for myself. In an attempt to make it look like the speeder had crashed, I painted behind it brown to make it look like it scraped some of the snow away when it landed and was actually revealing some of the dirt underneath. I painted the rocks black because I really thought it would stand out against the white, and of course, that is the AT-AT's favorite color. Everything else I painted gray because for some reason in Star Wars everything has to be gray, there's no metallic at all. Some dry brushing of lighter colors really helps the dirt and the rocks stand out a little bit and not be quite so one-dimensional. Without a doubt it's copywritten, so just imagine the Imperial March theme song playing right now. I primed these 2. I gave this little guy, who I guess deserves a name, I'm gonna call him Toby, I gave Toby a quick dry brush of a lighter gray. Even Toby's hindquarters got a dry brushing. See, the parchment paper comes in very handy when you're a klutz and spill your wash everywhere. We apply a nice even coat of nun oil to Toby's coat. It really helps bring out his shine. And now we add some more washes to all of Toby's nooks and crannies to give him that, oh well, our government's actually spending trillions of credits on secret projects to destroy planets that we actually are not supposed to know about, but it's definitely 2 Death Stars. Weathered kind of look. I added a little bit of brown wash to all the bottoms of the panels because I really thought it would help separate it and give it more of a dirty kind of look. What a lovely little AT-AT our Toby ended up being, but to be fair, all AT-ATs are beautiful in their own rights. And now we move on to the brain cell destroying section of our diorama, where we add copious amounts of super glue to keep everything in place. I'm joking, it was ventilated slightly. And to the non-crashed land speeder, I added the water transfer slides that came with it, but as you can tell they're extremely shiny. So I went ahead and added a matte varnish as well as some gray paint to make it look like it's been scratched to help it blend in a little better. So let's go ahead and add some snow to the base. It's actually the first time I ever used the Vallejo snow effect. It goes on fairly easy and it ends up looking pretty good. Perhaps it's not in the correct scale for what I'm using it for, but it still looks nice. With the only downsides that I could find is that it does have a slight satin finish to it, although I guess that is to be expected with snow. Although personally, I don't know, because I'm from Texas and snow is just a myth here. And the fact that it has a very strong paint smell to it. Even days later after it drying, it still smells like paint. What are we doing with the second snow speeder, you ask? We're going to attach it with a cable. Now we just use the power of editing to paint it black, so that it looks like the tow cables from the movie. And I figured the strongest way to attach it would be drill a hole in it, bend it 90, and stick it in there with super glue. And then we'll just wrap it around the legs and super glue it wherever it touches. And we'll do the same thing with the snow speeder. We'll drill a hole in it, bend it 90, super glue it in. Not even gonna lie, I'm surprised that worked out as well as it did. Well, if you've gotten this far, I just want to say thank you very much and I hope you enjoyed.